I think it's super important to set that foundation that you're going to have your dream vendor team and that everybody is super comfortable with each other, you're super comfortable with everyone, and then they can all just work together to bring your dream to life.
Hi, I'm John from PGP Wedding Films, and welcome to Say Yes to the Best, where we talk to the best wedding pros to give you wedding planning advice. Subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Instagram. We have new content out all the time to help you with your wedding planning. And go check out our partners at Pennsylvania Weddings. Their blog is an amazing resource for anyone planning a wedding in Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, or any other location throughout Pennsylvania. And head over to the Pennsylvania Weddings Facebook page. We're going to be going live there on Thursday at 4 o'clock to answer any of your questions. Today, I'm talking with Alyson Morgan of TMD Weddings. How are you doing, Alyson?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great. I know today you wanted to talk about how couples can kind of figure out how to pick their vendors and get kind of a vendor dream team that all work together really, really well.
I think it's super important to set that foundation that you're going to have your dream vendor team and that everybody is super comfortable with each other, you're super comfortable with everyone, and then they can all just work together to bring your dream to life.
So if a couple doesn't really know where to start, what would you recommend? Where should they start?
So of course the first thing I always encourage everybody to do is to find your venue, and it's easier if you go in with an open mind on your date. Of course, if you want to get married on your anniversary or something, you can go and find a venue with your date, but having an open mind for the date will allow you to choose pretty much anywhere because everywhere's going to have some kind of availability. So that just makes your life a little bit easier. You're going to need to know your guest count and kind of the vibe you want to go for, and then just go from there.
I'm probably going to add, you should probably pick a wedding planner pretty early in that because that's going to make the rest of the process a little bit easier. I know you probably don't want to say that, but I'll say it because I know that as another vendor, having a wedding planner there always makes everyone's life go a lot easier and everything goes smoother.
Yeah, of course I would love for everybody to book their wedding planner first thing, but that is not always how it happens, and that's totally fine if it's not. I can really come in at any point and help you tie in any loose ends or anything like that. And if at any point you decide, hey, I'm super overwhelmed, a planner is definitely what you need in your life. It is going to save your sanity and maybe save your wedding day. So yeah, I always encourage people to hire a planner, but that is definitely, even though I am a planner, not always like the first thing that I think couples absolutely think about doing or even have to do. Just that venue is super important, and then finding, I would say, your photo and your video team next, because that is what you're going to look back on for the rest of your relationship. That's what your grandchildren are going to have to look at. So those two are huge. And then of course I would love for a wedding planner to be high up on your list as well.
So one thing that I hear a lot when couples come to me are, have you worked at this venue before, or have you worked with this photographer before? And you know, I think that's just something that causes people a little bit of stress. Like, will all of my vendors work well together? What would you say to couples who are kind of nervous about that?
Yeah, so I think it's always nice when your vendors have worked at a venue before. It's not absolutely necessary. As professionals, we can all go in. We will, of course, see the space, especially photographers and videographers will see the space before your actual day if they haven't worked there before. So we'll familiarize ourselves with the venue if we haven't. And then it's always nice for your team to know each other. But I, especially being newer to the area, have of course worked with people who have never worked with before, and it's always gone super well. I think that's why it's so important for the couple to set their foundation and to hire vendors who they get along with, because if you vibe with a vendor, most likely your vendors are going to work together and have similar personalities and values and goals to help you get to your perfect day.
If some vendors have not worked together, what are some things couples can do to kind of open those lines of communication and make sure that their entire team are kind of aware of what their expectations are and that everyone's communicating?
That is where I will definitely say a planner can help, because what I do as a planner is I'll come in and I'll connect everybody and make sure everybody has the information that they need. And most of my clients have a style board, which will help all of the vendors understand your vision for the day and the timeline and the flow and all of that. So it's pretty much getting everybody just on an email chain basically, and then they can all connect, and the videographer and photographer will talk if they need to, catering and rentals will talk. Whoever needs to work together will go ahead and talk to each other and make sure that they're on the same page.
What is the biggest mistake that you see couples make when they're in the process of hiring their vendors?
I think that I have a set order that I like them to hire people in, so I think that you should hire your venue first, and then your photographer, and then your florist, and then add things on like catering and stuff. So sometimes if you go out of that order, you're gonna mess up, well, not mess up, but you're not gonna have money left in your budget for like the great photographer that you found on social media and you love. So I always say to prioritize your vendors based on that, just to make sure you get everybody in there, and your priorities are not going to be the same as everyone else's. Some people are super into the food at their wedding and some people are super into the florals. So I think just making sure that you follow your own unique priority list is good. And then missing pieces. So obviously having a wedding planner will help you make sure that you have everyone on your team that you need, but like, just to give you a little shout out, like videographers are so underrated, and I cannot emphasize enough how much I think everybody needs a videographer. I think it's such an important piece, especially the highlight reels at the very least. You're gonna want something to look back on. But the full videos too, like your grandparents, you're gonna wanna see them dancing, you're gonna wanna see your dad giving his welcome speech. So I think that's a big mistake, is when people don't hire a full team. And I know that there are budget restrictions and everything, but there's always something you can do to make it work within your budget.
So if you could give every couple one piece of advice about picking their vendors, what would it be?
I think phone interviews are great, and if you are especially not local to the area, that is definitely the way to go. But what I prefer to do is to grab coffee with all of my couples. I like to just be able to talk to them not just about their wedding planning, but like, what are you doing this weekend? Like, what are your hobbies? What are your interests? How did you guys meet? Just have a really full, well-rounded conversation, not just what's your budget, how many people are you having, where are you having it, who else is on your vendor team. I like to get a good idea of who my couples are as people, and I want them to have the same from me. So I think that that's a good strategy to have for all of your vendors, is to just really get to know them as people and not just their work.
Awesome. I agree completely. I always encourage my couples to meet with me. As a filmmaker, it just helps me kind of get their vibe before, walking in on their wedding day. And I've had couples, and, it's all been through email, and those turn out well. But you just kind of get a leg up when, the first time you meet people, it's not just on their wedding day that you've had a conversation. You kind of understand them a little bit better. And I think most vendors prefer it that way. If most of the people I ask say the same thing. Let's meet, get coffee. Let's make sure that we're not just another person, that you want us there on your biggest day of your life.
100% agreed.
Well, Alyson, thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Alyson Morgan of TMD Weddings. She's based in Delaware. She serves Delaware, the Delaware Shore, Eastern Shore of Maryland. So go check her out. All of her information will be below. Thank you for watching Say Yes to the Best. Again, subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Instagram. All the time we are putting up content to help you navigate wedding planning. Thanks again, and happy planning. You make this right.
We dreamt of marriage, starting a family, and all that came with it. We couldn't wait for a future, so we didn't.